Welcome back, and joining me for a closer look at what's played out on the market scene today is Schultz from Momentum Securities. Thank you so much for your time, Stephen. I did notice earlier on that the rand had weakened by almost 1.5% against the US dollar. We're standing at 17 rand 97. Has come back a little bit, but I'm just wondering, I mean, with that rand significantly creeping closer to that 18 rand level against the US dollar, are markets nervous at this point?
I'm not sure whether nervous is the right phrase, given that we've been living with some big headlines of late. So I don't think that's a particularly unnerving day. But I think what I would read into the rand's movements is a few things. One, busy week. We've got interest rate decisions from the SARB and the Fed. Markets obviously pricing in pretty high conviction both decisions, which we can touch on in a moment.
Yeah.
And then a very strong dollar from a very successful negotiation in the form of the US and Europe. I think it's fair to say, notwithstanding Trump's sometimes challenging personality, that he definitely got the better of the Europeans on Sunday night.
All right. Well, let's drill into the Fed because it does start its meeting today. What are your expectations in terms of, firstly, the decision, but also the tone that we could get from Fed Chair Jerome Powell?
I think the market's priced in to near perfection, no interest rate decision tomorrow, and I would be in agreement with that.
Okay.
That does place a lot of weighting on some of the commentary that accompanies the decision. So no doubt market's going to be very sensitive to any remarks that give indications on future path. Today, the market prices in about a 60% chance of a September rate decision and cut. I think that it is quite a complicated dynamic. Obviously, Donald Trump has been quite vocal in terms of his criticism against Jerome Powell.
Yeah.
But that makes any decision tomorrow, other than refraining from changes, quite a politically charged one. And ironically, should a cut take place tomorrow from the Federal Reserve, I think any whiff of political interference is probably going to have quite dire consequences. And ironically undo any benefit that an interest rate cut could do for the economy.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Well, let's get into some of the company news that came out of the JSE today. Kumba Iron Ore saying that they're affected by a softer iron ore market. Of course, that's showing in that top line that deflated by 4%. But actually, their bottom line remaining flat. Talk to us about the dynamics of that performance, but also maybe noting that the share price actually climbed more than 5% today.
And I think it was somewhat deserved. I think it's a great operating performance from them. Really, the headwind has been commodity prices. It's an exceptionally concentrated bet on iron ore prices, and obviously iron ore prices have been under pressure of late, which really comes through in the results. Operationally, sales volumes are up 3%, and not to take away any of management's contribution. I think the big announcement in the results was an improvement in Transnet, which has long been subjected to deterioration. I think the market wants to believe that perhaps it's bottomed out. Long hangover from poor maintenance, corruption, cable theft, etc. And I think that the uptick might be an encouraging sign for markets, and that might have cheered on a little bit of a rally for them.
We're talking about an uptick. We did see one in Boxer as well today. That share price also climbing about 5%. They released a 17-week trading update. I mean, citing or highlighting a number of challenges in terms of, the consumer pocket, but also the low inflationary environment, which lead to some margin management challenges there. But seeming that things are working because the financial metrics actually showed a robust performance. Your take on Boxer's performance?
It's difficult to criticize the performance. I think you're quite right in saying the consumer is under pressure. That is very evident. Some decent growth, double digits, low double digits, but double digits nonetheless.
Yeah.
That's also a result of expansion. We saw footprint expansion in the form of 10 new liquor stores and 7 new superstores being added to the numbers. So it does disguise the growth somewhat, but maybe in that is a bit of evidence of management strategy really being implemented successfully. Good set of numbers, market rallied, and we even saw some sympathy rally in Pick and Pay, which to date remains a large holder of Boxer, I think in excess of 60%.
Indeed. Well, before we get to your stock pick quickly, let's go into tech. Prosus announced that they have extended the acceptance offer deadline date to the 1st of October. So that would be the date in which the Just Eat takeaway shareholders accept the offer. How significant is this, considering, I mean, this would be either their biggest acquisition, one of their biggest acquisitions, particularly in that on that tech front?
It is a sizable acquisition, north of 80 billion rand, but when you're a company Prosus aside, perhaps not necessarily that large. I think it's less than 5% of their portfolio. It is a great asset nonetheless. It's got very decent operations in the UK, Netherlands and Germany. About 60 million customers of the service, if you can believe it. In about 2 weeks, we should know whether the European Commission gives it the green light, which obviously did require the extension, so a bit of a buffer that they built in for themselves. Okay. And also what isn't known is whether they're going to have to sell down any of their existing exposure in those regions in order to get the European Commission approvals that they need. And that would be Delivery Hero, which again is another very nice asset.
All right.
I think positive development, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, talking about positive, let's get to your stock pick for today, Stephen. What are you choosing?
So my stock pick today is a global diversified miner based in Western Australia, that is South 32. It's got a pretty broad exposure to base metals, copper, zinc, aluminium, etc. It has been somewhat hard hit of late. It's down around 1/3 over the last 2 years, and year to date negative around 15%. Why I like it, in addition to the asset exposure and decent operations, I think it is one of those cyclical rebounds that if one has a little bit of faith in the global economy, which is difficult, but if we dream for a little bit, I think that it is definitely due for a rebound. And of course, copper exposure going into a structural deficit next year is never a bad thing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your insights on what has moved investors' money today, Stephen. Really appreciated. That was Stephen Schultz from Momentum Securities.